welcome back to another edition of Bailey Price Media Live.
Bailey Price Media, I like it.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Welcome back to another edition of Bailey Price Media Live. Today, I got a special show for you. 8-year NFL veteran, University of Washington alum Tank Johnson joins the show. Talk all things Chicago Bears football, as they've made several acquisitions throughout the offseason, specifically in their offensive line, and that's kind of what I want to talk to him about today. So we're going to ask him about that. We're going to talk about Colorado and Deion Sanders, Coach Prime hiring Byron Leftwich, believe as a quarterback coach, I would guess, up in Boulder. Matt and I are going to talk about that on 0 to 60 tomorrow, but I got to ask Tank Johnson about that. I'm also going to ask him about the Bears holding, I believe, the number 10th pick in the overall in the 2025 NFL draft. I want to see if he thinks Ashton Jeanty is a good fit for the Bears now that they have a revamped offensive line. I'm going to ask him about Ben Johnson and the future of the Chicago Bears under Ben Johnson, Washington Huskies football, and so much more. If you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and become a member of the Bailey Price Media Army. To all those who already have become a member, those who donated, those who support the show, I appreciate you, and I can't thank you enough. This show is only brought to you, only done because of you guys, so I appreciate you. Can't thank you enough. Let's go ahead and get into it. 8-year NFL veteran, University of Washington alum, Tank Johnson. Welcome to the show, my man. Can't thank you enough for joining. How you doing?
What's up, B? Happy to be here, man. Great to see you.
Absolutely, man. I can't thank you enough. And Tank, Ben Johnson's been on the job for 50 days. He's already aged like 5 years. What's going on? You seen this at all?
Yeah, man. That's that Chicago, man. It's heavy, man. It's the city of broad shoulders, man. So you gotta acclimate quickly and understand, man, that the job's heavy, but the rewards are great.
Absolutely. Well, Tank, man, I can't thank you enough for joining. The Bears have made a couple acquisitions I want to ask you about, particularly their interior offensive line. They've signed 3 different guys. They traded for Joe Thuney, obviously Pro Bowl offensive lineman, NFL veteran, been playing for a long time. A guy that I'm super high on, I'm going to ask you about as well. Jonah Jackson, they traded for, comes from Detroit. He actually played for Ben Johnson in Detroit as well. And they also traded for another guy as well, Drew Dalman from the Falcons. So now you got a new trio, interior 3 for Caleb Williams' offensive line. Tank, are you a big fan of these moves?
Yeah, man. Well, listen, anytime you're deliberate about the offensive line and you bring in a group of guys together, there's a level of cohesion, there's a level of responsibility, and there's a level of prestige. When you normally you get an offensive lineman here, an offensive lineman there, and they kind of plug and play. But when you bring in the guys together, that means that you guys are here for a specific reason. There's good guys around you, and if you guys come in and do your job, the team should take off and do well. So I always like it when they bring in offensive linemen in groups, man, because they work together so much. And when they come in, nobody's kind of looking at the pecking order of contracts. Everybody knows everybody's paid. Now let's go ball out.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to offensive line, I think at Chicago, they've been yearning for kind of a revamp on the offensive line, seeing a mass overhaul like this. And I believe this is what Bears fans have been looking for. Ben Johnson comes in and doesn't waste any time revamping the offensive line. Speaking of one of the offensive linemen they brought in, Jonah Jackson, coming from the Rams and previously from Detroit, playing under Ben Johnson. He actually talked about that in a press conference. I'll go ahead and show that here. Take a listen.
Especially I feel like my best years were with Ben. He calls the game to our strengths, and things we're good at, and it's not just for one guy specifically. And I felt like I was able to strive in that system, and I'm excited to get back into it. Get back to what I was able to do, and keep it rolling.
Tank, this is a guy, Jonah Jackson, who I'm really high on. He came from Detroit. Obviously, they had a hell of offensive line there the last 2 years when, all the success with their running backs. Now, he went to Los Angeles last year, didn't play too much, and they ended up shipping him off to Chicago. What are your thoughts on his comments there and then his future in Chicago?
Listen, man, when your offensive line is confident, they can be a weapon. Anytime you get these guys and they're confident and they feel the love, they offensive linemen are like nameless people who, in my opinion, they gotta work the best together. And like I said before, man, like if these guys feel wanted, they feel respected, they can be a weapon, man, and they can really turn your offense into something that you didn't think you had. Guys moving on the perimeter, being able to pull out on the swing plays, moving guys off the line of scrimmage. And I mean, he says that he worked best under Coach Johnson's offense.
Mm-hmm.
Then he understands what's the task at hand.
Mm-hmm. Now, Tank, bringing in these 3 offensive linemen in the Caleb Williams second year, does this make you more confident in Caleb Williams? And then, that's my question.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I'm not even going to front. Like, everyone knows that I'm still in a wait and see pattern on Caleb, but you got to be honest. He got hit so much as a rookie. He got sacked a lot. He got hit even more. And so in order to get a good assessment of a guy, you got to let him be able to play without being under duress every single snap. And so, listen, we're all in with Caleb Williams. He's got tools on the outside. He's getting the offensive line together, and so we're gonna hopefully see the best of him now that he's got all of his assets, all of his tools. I mean, I just hope that it catapults his play to another level.
Absolutely. And I looked the Bears' run game. We'll see what they do, and this brings me to my next question. Tank, the Bears hold the number 10 pick in the NFL draft this year. There's a hell of a running back coming from Boise State who arguably should have won the Heisman, and Ashton Jeanty. Tank, the rumor is, and there's a lot of noise around this, if Ashton Jeanty falls to 10 as a running back, which is interesting, the Bears may go and grab him. Do you think Bears going running back at 10 is a good option?
If there's a game changer right there, a guy who's a home run threat anytime he touches the ball, absolutely. I mean, listen, you've seen with Philly how they played really well with a tremendous running game, and like the running back's kind of been an undervalued position, but I think over the last couple years they've seen the value in a good bell cow back. And look, I mean, if he can be durable and not get nicked up every week and having an ankle or this or that, listen, running backs, if you get a generational player, they can really change your fortune. They can really take a lot of pressure off of the guys and make the offensive line even better. So do I think Jeanty is a generational running back? I do. I think he's really good. I didn't watch much of Boise, but I did see a lot of his highlights. I saw him up for the Heisman. Mm-hmm. Listen, man, I think he's a perfect back. If we got everything else we need, I think he's the back to take.
Absolutely. And the Bears, if they were to go with Jeanty, a potential offense looks pretty damn good with Caleb Williams, Jeanty at running back. Got DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, and Cole Kmet. Pretty good potential offense there if they were to bring in Jeanty. Now, Tank, going back to that number 10 overall pick, if you were the general manager of the Bears and you had to go position-wise or player-wise, where would you go and why for the Chicago Bears?
I mean, I'm just not going to be I'm not going to say defensive tackle because I'm a defensive tackle, but I definitely would make sure that I got a defensive tackle, right. and one of the best ones in the draft, because when you got a disruptor, I mean, you saw the big kid from Philly this year since he's been in the league. I mean, he is a game wrecker, and if I don't know if there's any guy like that in this draft, but there's some very good talent, man. And I think right now, I think our shelves are pretty good on the offensive side of the ball. I think we need a disruptive tackle that commands a double team, that makes the offense think about him, so it frees up our other players. And so, if there's a generational tackle or even a linebacker, we just have to become more explosive on defense.
Absolutely. And when it comes to this draft, Tank, this draft is loaded when it comes to offensive, in particular defensive line. If you were to go at 10, Mason Graham, if he's there from Michigan, I think will be a hell of a pick for them on the defensive line. You got several edge rushers. Who knows where they'll end up? Abdul Carter, if he falls. You got several different kids as well. Pierce from Tennessee, who ran really well at the combine. That kid's a freak as well. Got several different players on the defense line as well. If the Bears were going to have D-line there. Nonetheless, man, personally, if it's my pick, I think the Bears need another like X factor. I think Genty's going to be that X factor if he's there at 10. There's a lot of noise and rumors that he won't be there at 10. That the Pete Carroll and the Raiders may go after him at pick 6, which I'm also a fan of as well. We'll see where Ashton Genty ends up. We'll see where the Bears go at 10. I think if Genty's there at 10, it's a great fit for Caleb Williams in Chicago going forward. One thing with the run game, it'll take the pressure off of Caleb Williams, which we know last season Caleb Williams was under a lot of pressure. Indeed, Tank.
Yeah. You definitely gotta get him. You gotta give him some help. Get him some more balance, and make the defense respect the other guys around Caleb, and obviously that'll take a lot of pressure off his shoulders.
Absolutely. Tank, I got to ask you about something before I ask you about somebody who I believe you played against. But, Tank, this has been a huge storyline across college football. Bill Belichick and his 24-year-old girlfriend. Tank, I don't know if you've seen this. This is Bill Belichick on the bottom there getting some what looks like some yoga or something acrobatic whatever. But his girlfriend, he's 72. Girlfriend is 24. He's also had all UNC staff CC her on all emails as well. So it seems to be she's pretty in the loop when it comes to what he's doing. Have you heard about this situation, and what are your thoughts, Tank?
Yeah, I've heard about this situation, and I mean, listen, as a father with a 21-year-old daughter and a 20-year-old daughter almost, listen, I don't know if I'm like, if my daughter brought home a rich 70-year-old man, would I be upset? I just don't know, because obviously he could teach her a lot of things. Obviously she could learn a lot from him. Financial literacy, she'll have that security. But then there's always that thought in the back of the mind that that's some creepy shit, man. Some creepy shit, like I just don't know. But in terms of, Bill, going out there doing yoga with his girl, man, listen, whatever makes you happy and it's above board legally, you know what? People just don't have any room to speak on it. If this is what Bill wants to do, if this is what makes Bill feel alive, I sure ain't gonna be the one hating on him. You could make a million jokes about, he's lived almost 2.5 her lifetimes, but you know what? It's making him happy and it's above board, so I got nothing negative to say about it.
Now, Tank, I have so many questions for you just because of your perspective in life. Is this wrong? It's being a father of 2 daughters. Is this wrong, Tank? Do you look at this as like a bad thing? Because there's he's getting a lot of heat for this. I'll say that.
I just don't know, right? Like, as long as he's not like on some mental manipulation stuff, and it's just a normal relationship. Put it this way: if my daughter brought home a bum ass 24-year-old who had her out in the streets all day driving 110 miles an hour, which would I rather have my daughter with? I'd rather have him driving with an older gentleman who's got a beautiful house on the water, can take her to see the world. I mean, at some point as a father, you have to let your daughter go and let her experience life. And if that's what balances her, is a way more mature man who can intellectually, they're a match intellectually. I just can't find like a reason to criticize it, right? I mean, it's just I just can't find a reason.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. That's a great point. I personally have no problem with it. And I mean, I don't have kids, obviously, but I wanted to get your perspective on it. I think you give a great perspective on it. Now, my last question for you on this front. Sean King, Super Bowl champion, played for the Bucs, obviously. He mentioned that he thinks this is a smart idea from Bill, having her CC'd on all emails, because the legalities of this, if they were to go wrong, it's already a dicey situation. Could get a lot worse if it were to. Do you think this is a smart move from Bill?
Okay, hold on, Bailey. You said if they were to go what now? Raw?
If it were to go wrong.
Wrong. Okay. You mean if the relationship goes wrong?
Yeah, because it could be like Sean, 72, 24. He's the head coach of a college. Like, yeah, if that were to go wrong, the public is just going to kill him for it.
Well,
they already are.
I feel like right now, especially, I've been in like a corporate environment. I mean, they send so many emails all day long. And
Yeah.
I probably feel like she's on her phone probably a lot more than Bill. And if she's already on her phone anyway, and she's going to assure that he doesn't miss anything important and he doesn't have to open 30 emails a day and 27 of them are just bullshit that you didn't need to read. I think it's smart. I mean, work smarter, not harder. Delegate responsibility to people. I don't even care. Listen, when Bill goes down to college, I mean, he holds a certain level of authority. He's got 7 Super Bowl rings. So if he doesn't want to check 30 emails from from some department he doesn't care about every day, I think he's smart.
Well, there you have it. And I agree with you. I think it's smart. I think what Bill's doing with North Carolina is smart. I think the way they're building the program, they're going to be formidable in the ACC this season. But I just try to get your take on that, Tank, because I think you have good perspective on it. And, Bill's winning in life, as Hayden says in the chat. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, look, Bill is – how old is Bill again? 71?
72, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, man. Like when you don't get that far in this game, not being smart, and I mean, I'm sure he probably in the short time he's been there, they're probably like, "Hey, Bill, did you see that email that I sent about which uniforms we're going to wear week 9?" He's like, "No."
Yeah, exactly.
And so, You know what? I guarantee you he'll get the important stuff now with his lady checking those emails.
Exactly. Great point, Tank. Great perspective there. Just how to get your take on that. Now, I got to ask you about a guy you probably know or played against at some point in your career. But Coach Prime and Colorado have hired Byron Leftwich to a position. I don't know if it's quarterback coach, but nonetheless, Byron Leftwich, former OC, former quarterback coach in the NFL. He interviewed for multiple NFL jobs this past offseason, didn't get any, and then now he moves to college with Coach Prime and that NFL, experienced staff. You got Warren Sapp there. He's hired Marshall Falk. On the offensive line, they hired Andre Gerard this past offseason to go with George Hageman, who also played. The list goes on and on for former NFL guys coaching at Colorado. But Tank, what are your thoughts on this move here?
Oh man, I always loved playing against Byron Leftwich. He had the countryest cadence ever. He said, "Down, say it." And I'm a D lineman. I used to love to jump the snap count, but I remember when he first said it on the first play, we all burst out laughing like during the game in real time. It was funny as shit. But as far as him being a coach, man, listen, man, Deion is doing a great job of getting these guys around some people who have credibility. One thing in college football, you tend to get these coaches who maybe have played some smaller Division 1 AA, Division 2 ball and all that, and they're trying to explain this stuff to you, and they're good coaches, but they lack that topside credibility. When you've got these guys who've played in the NFL, they've played at the highest level, the players have to buy in. These guys know what they're talking about. They know how to get there. And I think it's brilliant from Deion because, man, let me tell you, these players nowadays, it's the player empowerment era. So your coach has to have credibility. He has to have that clout. I don't care how grainy the footage. If you can pull up some film of you playing in the NFL and balling, those kids will listen.
Yeah, that's a great point, Tank. It is the player empowerment era nonetheless. And I think it's a great move from Deion. I would guess Byron Leftwich, he's going to bring him in to coach the quarterbacks. I don't believe they had a formal quarterback coach this past season with Deion Sanders and the backups they had. But now when it comes to Colorado's quarterback room, much different than this past season. Tank Shador's gone. Now you have a 5-star quarterback, Julian Lewis, who they brought in, who was a hell of a talent, just 17 years old too. So he enrolled early. He's playing right now on spring ball. You got Kaden Salter, 4-year starter at Liberty. He's thrown for over 5,000 yards, rushed for over 2,000 yards. Hell of a player as well. Bring him in to be coached, I believe, by Leftwich, which I think is a great move by Prime. Tank, what are your thoughts on Colorado's quarterback room going forward after the Shador Sanders era?
Listen, man, when the rich get richer, they just restocked the shelves with the number 1 quarterback in the 2024 class, and they've got a great transfer. And so you definitely need at least 2 quarterbacks with the way that the game's played nowadays. Some guys get nicked up, and it's not so much about the style that has to match with, say, Byron Leftwich and his quarterback room, but it's just the knowledge. It's just the in game, the poise, the understanding, the ability to kind of brush off mistakes and not take yourself too hard. And so I think it's just great. I mean, they're going to be extremely talented, and I think he's got all the coaches to reload and be even better. Then I think Shador put a certain level of pressure on the team, being Prime son and all that. And I think now that Shador's gone on to the NFL, I think it's going to become a more holistic team. It's not going to be like, listen, get my son to the league, showcase my son. It's going to be showcase the best talent. And so I think Deion and the Buffs could be in a potentially even better spot than they were in the last 2 years.
Tank, I agree with you completely. Personally, Matt and I obviously have talked about this on 0 to 60 extensively, but I think this, Shador and Travis, you had to play to their strengths last season. Obviously, you had that wide receiver core go along with Shador, Travis Hunter, best player in college football. You're going to use that. They didn't run the ball at all, and what Matt and I would have wanted to see, and obviously. Now this season, I think this opens it up a little bit. You got Marshall Faulk in the running back room to go along with Andre Gerard, which I think is a hell of a hire for the offensive line. Them two together, they've already talked about how they're going to integrate the run game, how they're actually going to run the ball this season, how we actually expect to run the ball, how last season they played to the strengths of Shador and Travis, and now this season's going to be a little bit different. And they have a hell of a running back room as well, 4 solid guys. Off the top of my head, Dallin Hayden, Isaiah Augusta, Brendan Hood, who we didn't even see last season. He was hurt in a freshman, and Michael Welch going into a sophomore season as well. Tank, before we move on here, I want to show Deion Sanders introducing Byron Leftwich to the Colorado football team. Take a look.
This is what I new coaches. You say hi to him, say what's up. He's coach. Don't call him by his name. He's coach. What you want to be called?
Coach. Just put coach in front of it. I don't care what's behind it.
There we go. God bless y'all. Let's have a great day.
Nonetheless, Byron Leftwich, Prime brought in to Colorado, coach quarterbacks. Tank, any final thoughts on that?
I think it's dope. I also saw my boy Domata Peko, my former teammate on the Cincinnati Bengals. Last year he was with the Dallas Cowboys, and now he's a Colorado Buffs coach. Domata is a hell of a guy, hell of a man. He was a great player, but he's patient, he's kind, but he's gonna have those guys in a family environment. And I just think Coach Prime is doing what he said he was going to do. He's going to surround his team with the best of the best coaches, and I think they're going to have a chance to be an elite program.
Yeah, absolutely. Domata Peko, you mentioned, brought in now is coaching the defensive line along with Warren Sapp. From what I've seen, I'm well off, and in Colorado spring practice, the offensive line, defensive line are getting after it one-on-ones. You got those two. You got Gerard and Hageman, and they got another assistant offensive line coach, Gunnar White, as well. Shout them out. They're just going at it. One offensive line, defensive line. I think they have a great thing going there, Tank. Nonetheless, I don't think people are talking about. But nonetheless, let's move forward. Tank, I got to ask you, going to the 49ers, I've asked like my last 4 guests this, and nothing has happened, and we're sitting on March 20th. Why haven't the 49ers signed Brock Purdy to an extension? What are they waiting for? They brought in Mac Jones, who ironically, who they probably should have drafted 2 years ago with Trey Lance instead of Trey Lance, but you're here now. Why haven't the 49ers signed Brock Purdy?
I think because probably Brock Purdy's agent is a little bit delusional because he's trying to get a market rate for a quarterback. The 49ers know that Brock Purdy has been prepped up by all the talent around him, And there's no way that they're going to pay Brock Purdy $40 million a year, $45 million a year, because he's not worth it. Now, is that the normal going rate for a quarterback? Yes, but there are instances where a quarterback comes into a great situation. They haven't won because of Brock Purdy. They've won with all of their other talent around him. And I know that their agent's probably saying, hey, we should get a $45 million a year deal. And I'm sure the 49ers and John Lynch are saying, yeah, hold on. Let's be a little bit more realistic in this quest to get this deal. Maybe you're probably get maybe like what a second best receiver, like a 28 million a year, 29 million a year, in that range. That's more of his range, but it's probably not happening because he's asking for 40-something million dollars a year.
No, Tank, and that's been the debate. Because Tua Tagovailoa is getting paid $53 million, Trevor Lawrence $55 million. Where do you have Brock Purdy in the scale of NFL quarterbacks, Tank? Do you look at him better than Trevor Lawrence or Tua, or do you look Brock Purdy towards the bottom?
If there's 32 quarterbacks, I think Brock Purdy would probably be like 16. He probably is like that mid-level quarterback who is just, he's not going to mess it up, but he's not going to like do anything spectacular. Yeah, maybe in the red zone, he can tuck it and run and get over the goal line, but he's not a generational talent that's going to make everybody around him better. He is the product of looking a lot better with the products around him. So, but it's not a knock on the kid. Shit, my daughter went to high school with the kid. I live right around the corner from Perry High School. They got Brock Purdy Way. The kid has literally, if you talk about an overachiever, the kid's an overachiever. But you're not gonna then turn that into giving that kid the kitchen sink and all that money. You just can't do that because you will never get your return on investment paying Brock Purdy some money like that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Tank. And as JB says, I think Brock Purdy is a bus rider. I don't know if he's the bus driver on those great San Francisco teams with great defense, great offensive line. McCaffrey, Debo, and Ayuk at full strength and not requesting trades. But yeah, nonetheless, the 49ers, we're still sitting here March 20th. They have not signed Brock Purdy yet. So we'll see how that goes, Tank. But
it'll get done when Brock and his agent, listen, if I'm his agent, I'm swinging for the fence too. Shit, listen.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
My agent was Drew Rosenhaus, and Drew Rosenhaus had a formula. If you were a starter at the position in the league, he would just look at, okay, this is the average of all the starters. Pay my client this, right? And so if you take that approach for a quarterback, you're looking at well over market value for Brock Purdy. And I think the 49ers, having paid a few other guys, they got to be realistic here.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I just think, like you mentioned, the first point you brought up, Brock Purdy's agent definitely is pushing this. You would have to, if Tua's getting paid that much, Trevor Lawrence is getting paid that much, and you're Brock Purdy having played in the Super Bowl and damn near went to Tua. You almost went to one as a rookie as well. So it's just nonetheless, I think the 49ers are cooked, Tank. I think they're done. I think they're going to really struggle in their division next season. I think it's the Rams division to win. I don't know what the hell Seattle's doing, but they're putting something together. All-white team now. Got white quarterback, white receivers now. So they're just putting together the all-white team.
Crazy.
What are your thoughts on the Seahawks trading Geno to the Raiders, trading DK to the Steelers, cutting Tyler Lockett, signing Sam Darnold, and Cooper Kupp?
Man, listen, these guys are ready to flush the toilet and move on, man. These guys are looking to completely rebuild this team and come with a 2025 version of this team. And I think some of the stuff behind the scenes with DK and I just think it just became too much. And having a new coach, giving him the opportunity to bring in, his type of players and guys who believe in him, I think it makes sense, right? Because, you come as a new coach, you come there, you already got disgruntled players. It's like, fuck, this is an uphill battle every day. So give the coach a clean slate, give the GM a clean slate, give them a chance to buy the groceries, prepare them, and put them out there for the set the table with them. So we'll see how it goes up in Seattle. But I think they'll be all right.
We'll see, Tank. I'm growing up a Seahawks fan, I'm like, fuck, we just traded our quarterback, our freakazoid receiver. You cut the receiver who's been there for 10 years and gotten 1,000 yards. Now all of a sudden he's like not a like. I just think, yeah, it's Mike McDonald, putting his style on it. We'll see whether comes to fruition or not. I think one thing we're going to really find out is how good of a general manager John Schneider is now that Pete Carroll's gone. Because we're being real, Pete Carroll probably called a lot of the shots when he was there. Now that Pete's gone, we're going to really find out John Schneider how good of a GM he is. Them and making some big free agent signings at quarterback is something we haven't seen from Seattle in a while. So nonetheless, we'll see. But Tank, I can't thank you enough for joining on this fine Thursday. I know you're a busy man. Can't thank you enough. Gave us great perspective on Ben Johnson and the Bears, and whether Bears fans can have something to be optimistic about and look forward to. And Byron Leftwich being hired by Colorado gave great perspective on that as well. And then Bill Belichick and his 24-year-old girlfriend, as Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels have begun spring ball. Tank, can't thank you enough for joining, man. I appreciate you.
Bailey, thanks for having me, man. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. I love watching what you're doing and growing in this space. Keep it up, my friend.
Absolutely, man. Enjoy the Thursday. We'll see you soon, man. Peace.
Man.
Can't thank 8-year NFL veteran, University of Washington alum Tank Johnson enough for joining the show. Great show. Talked all things Chicago Bears. The revamping of their interior offensive line and whether this will help Caleb Williams. Personally, we'll see. I don't know. I think they are in a tough division. But Deion Sanders in Colorado hired Byron Leftwich. We broke that down as well. Bill Belichick and his 24-year-old girlfriend. That was a requested topic by those in the comments, so we talked about that as well. And so much more. If you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, become a member of the Bailey Price Media Army today. And I appreciate you all watching. We'll see you on Saturday or Monday. Saturday, most likely, for a special guest. And if not, we'll see you guys next week. Enjoy the Thursday. I appreciate you all watching. Peace.